Hello, everyone. My name is Lindsay. My pronouns are she and her, and I am the founder of World Changing Kids. And I'm so excited to be here today with the amazing school community of St. Isabel to introduce to you my friend, Brandie, who is an amazing person who does great work. She is a board member of Foodsharing Ottawa, and I've spoken to her before about this, and she taught me so much about food waste, food insecurity, food rescue, the effects on climate change. It's just amazing. And Brandie is also a farmer and has an amazing farm that maybe she'll tell us a little bit about quickly too. So we're gonna do this, we're recording it, we're gonna send it out to the school community, and then we're gonna come up with an action we can take to help. Like we did with Shauna's outreach, like you amazing students did, raising all those funds and collecting all those items for Shauna's outreach to help with the people experiencing homelessness. Brandie's going to give us some ideas for things we can do to help with food waste. So with that, I will turn it over to Brandie to introduce herself, and then we'll kind of just have a chat about all the great things she does. There we go.
Thanks. Hi, everyone. So my name is Brandie, and I've been volunteering with Foodsharing Ottawa for many years. So it started off with one business that we were able to convince that instead of throwing out the things they couldn't sell, that we would pick them up as volunteers and redistribute them to the community so that the food wasn't put into the garbage. And so this wasn't my idea. This was the idea of a woman named Carolyn Ross, who came from Germany and recognized that no initiative was being done at the time here in Ottawa, and decided to get it started. And until that moment where she told me about it, I hadn't even thought about it. I hadn't recognized that food was being thrown into the garbage. And wasn't, I maybe at home, you put some things in the trash or you put some things in the compost, but I hadn't thought about what stores are doing or restaurants are doing until I went to my first food rescue. It's kind of like this little mission. We get assigned a store and a time as a volunteer, and we show up and they have set aside things that they can't sell. And I was expecting, maybe a little box of food that I would bring to a shelter or somewhere else. And instead, I got something like 20 boxes of food. And there were chips, and there was jars of lemonade, and there were granola bars, and there was pasta, and there was all kinds of things that to me were not food waste. They shouldn't have been going in the garbage. I actually really wanted to eat them myself. And the person who was delivering them and helping me put them into my van said he was so very grateful that it broke his heart every time as an employee that he had to throw that stuff into a garbage bin. And I was shocked. I couldn't believe it, that he had been doing this every week for years, and that was part of his job. And imagine like how awful it would feel even for yourself to have to throw out that garbage when you think like, I would kind of like to eat these chocolate bars. So why were they throwing them out if they seemed good and edible? Was because on foods, there is something called a best before date. There's also sometimes something called an expiry date. And an expiry date means that probably around that time, that food is not going to be good anymore. But most foods have a best before date. And that just means that after that date, the company, figures that maybe the chips might not be as crunchy, or as, they might kind of change a little bit and not be the best. And they want to sell the best. So you come back and you buy more and more and more. And so I was looking on containers and packages, and one thing that they had a whole case of was almond milk. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, best before last week. This kind of food doesn't go bad that fast. And by it being best before, that doesn't mean that it's rotten. It doesn't mean that it's lost its nutrition just by 1 week. And we know that this stuff stays good for months and months and even years. And so I put all these boxes in my van and had my son, who was 9 at the time, help me out. And we brought them to a shelter that has different services. So they have a soup kitchen, they have a women's shelter, they have a food bank, all within one space. And we brought in this stuff very, very proudly because to us it was really valuable, and they felt the same way. They were so excited to receive all of this food, to be able to replenish their shelves and share it with the community. And so from that time on, I was totally hooked and went on as many rescue missions as I could. And definitely my children participated because for them it was interesting and it was exciting, but also as a volunteer because we don't get paid for our gas and our time. And also because the goal of food sharing is just that the food's not wasted. Well, then my kids got to go, what is this product? So one of the products that was in one of the bags were these marshmallows, and they are vegan marshmallows. And my kids were like, Mom, can we try these? And I'm like, sure, that's the goal. Let's use this food up. And so they got to taste some new products and eat some things that we wouldn't have necessarily bought if it wasn't for doing these food rescues.